This is where the fun begins.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
What is going on, everyone? What's up, Lex?
What is up, PJ?
Oh my goodness, it's been a while.
It has.
Um,
It has.
I know you've been busy with school and all, but congratulations on graduating as a nurse. So, congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, how's everything? What's been going on with you and the realm of Star Wars? Have you been? I know you've been busy, but have you been, keeping up with some of the news, the collection? Yeah.
So, I mean, as you can see, kind of a little bit behind me, I graduated. I took
Mhm.
boards after studying. I passed, so now I'm a licensed nurse, which is awesome. I
Mhm.
moved up to Jacksonville, so I have a whole new kind of apartment and a new kind of collection room. So it's been pretty
Yay!
to put everything together and kind of just reassessing my collection and the space that I have
Mhm.
now. So that's been pretty fun. I've been trying to keep up with the news and stuff, but I've definitely been here and there. But I'm trying to hopefully, now that things are kind of settling, get more into or really get back into like creating content and stuff. But I have been trying to like keep up, especially with other content creators and the
Mhm.
news and stuff that's going. And I'm super excited for Skeleton Crew. So that's a plus.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I had Ricky pop the Bounty Collector on last week, and I felt like he was kind of like staying away from like the trailers and some of the stuff, like because he didn't want to spoil for himself. But you saw the trailer, right?
Mhm.
What'd you think of it? Like,
At first, I was a little skeptical. I was like,
mhm,
"Oh, I don't like how this is opening." But as we've kind of like got more, I feel like because they like kind of released another trailer. I feel like so. I feel like we've gotten two. Correct me if
mhm.
I'm wrong,
Yeah,
but I
too.
don't know. I kind of like what I see so far. Like it's very much giving me like E.T., Stranger Things, Goonies. I like the different characters. Like, I don't know, it just
Mhm.
seems like a pack of like rambunctious kids that are going to go on this mission with Jude Law, who's awesome as
Yeah.
an actor. So, I don't know. It looks like there's really good action. It looks like there's some really good like cinematic shots. So, I don't know. I'm definitely very interested to see where it's going to go or what we're going to get really.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious too, just because I think I don't know. Ricky was saying that is the way it was shot. Like, I mean, I thought Jude Law he looked like a Jedi, right, in the
Yeah.
first teaser trailer. Um, I still feel like he is maybe a Jedi that is kind of like on the run and obviously trying to, seclude himself from the rest of the galaxy because he's, probably scared of what happened with Order 66 and the prequels and stuff like that, and the Empire, of course. And this is supposed to take place obviously within the realm of the Mandoverse
Hmm.
and post Return of the Jedi. So yeah, I'm excited because it's been a while since we had some Star Wars content. Number one, number two, obviously the last show that we got was pretty divisive. Um, but in the most part, I'm ready for some Star Wars. I'm kind of like missing it, right? I know some people might have said like, less is more, which I do agree. Um, but when you're so used to getting content like, like every 3 months, or well, not even every 3 months, every like month, um, you kind of get used to it and kind of like go through with some withdrawal if you don't get it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. And I think it's refreshing too. It looks pretty positive. It's not as dark as the Acolyte, which kind of focused on a lot of the dark side users. Um, it's not as serious as Mando because Mando, I mean, It's pretty
Yeah.
much serious in the most part, right? I mean, there's some like comedic scenes here and there. But this one looks just like a lot of fun. Like you said, it has a Stranger Things vibe, like ET vibe, uh, like the 80s, like teenage or kid, like
Mhm.
young adult kid movie ish vibe. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I just feel like there's gonna be a lot of pressure on it because of The Acolyte, because I feel like
Hmm.
that was definitely tough. I feel like that definitely kind of divided the fan base, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I kind of definitely feel like there's a lot of pressure being put on Skeleton Crew because of that, and I wish there
Yeah.
wasn't, because it's a completely different series. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's made by Disney,
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't know, I just from the looks of it, it looks really fun and kind of whimsical, but someone mentioned to me about Jude Law's character. They were like, I think it was the Kenobi series, that one guy that was like
Hmm.
kind of faking being a Jedi. I forget what his name was, but they were like, maybe
Oh yeah.
what he's doing. But I was like, I don't know, because I feel like how it was shot, it made it seem like he was using the Force.
Force. Yeah.
But someone did bring that up. They were like, what if he's like a fake Force user, like that one guy? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. So I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I feel like he is a Force user. So
I
I don't
think
know.
if yeah, I think the story would be a lot better if he was a Force user and he's kind of like on the run and he's trying to pretty much escape or just trying to hide, and be like a regular person.
Mhm.
And obviously, he comes across these kids, and the adventure begins. Uh, but yeah, no, I just I'm looking forward to it. I have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit more. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch compared to like the previous TV series that we've watched in the past. Like I said, with the Acolyte again, for me, especially, I think I mentioned a couple episodes before where I just feel like I understand. I understand more now, like what I guess Disney's trying to do. Because if you kind of notice some of the series that's been coming out, it's kind of like focusing on certain groups and certain generations. Like I felt like the Acolyte was more of for the newer generations, maybe. Andor was, I felt like it hit a lot of mature, older generations. So, um, and I feel like Mando is kind of like in between of everything. Um, what do you think about that, Lex?
I definitely think there are kind of like generational levels to Star Wars, because obviously
Yeah.
you have like the Young Jedi Adventures and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And you have then like more serious series. I definitely think Andor was like more on the serious side and a
Yeah.
very different take,
I,
which is
I
why
I think you and I agree that if like maybe an 8-year-old were to watch it, they would just not be hooked to
no,
watching it, more
not
episodes of it. So,
yeah. So I think that one I feel like tends to kind of lean towards
mhm.
older, more mature viewers, as you mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see with Andor 2, like what the take is, because I feel like it was very hit or miss for a lot of people when they watched Andor. I know Tony like absolutely hated it. I didn't really mind
Yeah,
it, so I guess it
and
really.
Sean, my partner in crime,
Mhm.
which by the way, I believe this is week 9 now. He hasn't been on, but we definitely miss him. Well, I miss him. Um, yeah, he loved Andor.
Mhm.
So, and Tony, like you said, yeah, didn't like Andor. So it's very interesting how, there's like, even though Andor shouldn't be divisive, because it kind of like, I felt like it really like stayed true to the Star Wars lore. The only difference is that it's just a little bit more serious. Like it's very
Yeah.
like dramatic. There wasn't like a lot of like CGI, a lot of space battles, things like that. So there wasn't
It
even a
just
lot of like aliens too.
Yeah, it was just different, I feel like. I feel like we're all used to seeing, like, the blasters and the lightsabers and, like, all of
Mhm.
this really dramatic kind of stuff that we think of when we think of
Yeah.
Star Wars, and I feel like that really wasn't what Endor was, or Andor
Yeah.
was. So I feel like if you were hoping for that, that's why you didn't like it. But I feel like if you kind of had an open mind to it, it was a completely different take on other characters, the
Mhm.
underworkings of what was going on in the rebellion. Like it was just very different, and I kind of found that refreshing. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
excited for Andor season 2. But
Mhm.
I guess if like you were expecting lightsaber battles and all this crazy stuff, because like Rogue One was phenomenal
Oh
and they
yeah,
definitely had a
absolutely.
lot of, you know, that kind of stuff in there. So I feel like maybe that's why a lot of people were hoping for that in the
Mhm.
series and they didn't get it per se. So maybe that's what it is. But I definitely think there are like kind of, you know, targeted audiences for some of this stuff. But overall, I feel like you should be able to, no matter your age or what you're into, be able to enjoy any series. But I definitely do kind of agree that there are, you know, targeted audiences, it seems, within the Star Wars fandom about
Yeah.
certain series.
Well, I was gonna say too is that did you like Andor?
Yeah. Mhm.
You did.
Yeah,
Um, and you like the Acolyte too, right?
I did.
Yeah. Was there any series that you were like, just didn't really resonate well with me, or you've been liking a lot of like the content so far?
I mean, so far, I feel like I've enjoyed a lot of the series. There's
Yeah.
obviously some things within the series that I could do without, but I do kind of enjoy or find some enjoyment in the majority of the series that Disney has put out.
Mhm.
So I'm not really like a hater of any of the series, at least not yet, but there are some parts of it that I'm
Y-
like, I wish
Yeah.
they could do that. So,
Well, here's the thing too. It's that it's I just hope that Disney realizes that not to kind of like I feel like one thing the beauty about the original trilogy, right? I mean, even to this day, it's one of those where you could show the younger generation, yeah, they might say, "Oh, this looks a little outdated," but in the most part, they could probably enjoy the original trilogy and enjoy the story. And I feel like Disney has the capabilities of achieving that. I think they can. I really do. I just feel like I get it. They're like you said, they have target audience for each series. But I think Mando season 1 and 2 and Rogue One kinda hit all the different generations. I would even say Force Awakens hit pretty much, pretty much all the generations, right? Yeah, there might have been a couple haters in, like, The Force Awakens, but that's gonna be with every movie that
mhm.
gets released. There's always gonna be those few that are just a little bit louder than the majority. Um but I think they have the capabilities of doing so. Oh boy, here we go. We already got
Oh, there it is.
there it is. Whoop, there it is.
What's up?
Um, what's up, Tony? Shout out to Star Wars Sith. Anyway, um, but yeah, I'm really excited for Skeleton Crew, and it's less than a month away. Can you
Yeah,
believe that?
it's close. I feel like we just started November, like, yesterday, and we're already kind of
Yes.
halfway through. Like, Thanksgiving is, like, a week
Yes.
away, so
Yes.
yeah,
Lex,
Skeleton
you
Crew will be
noticed
here
it too,
before we
right?
know it.
Like I
Dude,
I just
yeah.
blinked and I'm like,
Mhm.
we're in
Yep.
mid-November now. Like literally, like Thanksgiving is like 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Black Friday deals, here I come.
Yes.
So
Black Friday deals, I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm still trying to, like, furnish the apartment a little bit, but I feel like
yeah.
I haven't bought any, like, actual collectible in a while,
Mhm.
so I think it'll be my time to splurge.
Well, I was gonna ask you. So now you would say you have more room, correct?
Well, I guess like initially I kind of just had stuff like in my room. Now I kind of have like it's like my apartment's like a 1-1, but it has like a den or like an office space. So it's like kind of my collection room now. So I almost now have like a strictly dedicated room that I can do this with. So I went and initially got like the Billy bookcases that I set up.
I
So
love it.
that's given
I'm gonna
me
zoom in
some
a yeah, yeah. I saw
yeah.
some of this
So
Star Wars stuff there. I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
So it's been like fun to kind of, put stuff up. I do have like a little space to my left that I want to get some like of the detox because I love them, but I don't like the new ones that they have. So I almost feel like I gotta like search like Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been really fun like getting to kind of, unpack all my collectibles because it was hard packing that all up. I didn't realize how much shit I had until I started like packing. So that
Yeah.
was, fun kind of getting to unpack and really kind of visualize like where I want to go, what kind of like what do I want my collection to look like, I guess. So that's been fun.
Yeah. Well, since now you have well, I would say a little bit more room.
Yeah,
You would agree? Yeah.
a
So
dedicated space.
yeah, dedicated space. What I was gonna ask you is, now would you venture out to other different types? I know you collect pops and
Mhm.
Legos and different other things. Would you venture out to other things?
I want to do the statues because I feel like now I have the space kind of like on the
Mhm.
top of my bookshelves, but I don't know. I definitely Lego was always like my first love. Like that's what I used to build when I was younger. So I definitely want to
Yeah.
like start collecting some of the like sets that I had when I was younger that I don't have now. So that's kind of been like my mission is to kind of recollect some of those. But I definitely want to get like some of the bigger Lego sets that I've always wanted, like the Star Destroyer or even like the new Venator. But I
Ooh.
definitely do want like that's why I kind of want to do the detox is so I can put my little like statues in them. So it's definitely something I want to venture into is like some bigger ticket items.
How about the at?
That would be cool. I mean, I would get it, but I think
That's
the
big.
chips would come first.
The ship? The Venator or the other?
The Venator's like slightly a little bit cheaper, so maybe that one, but the Star Destroyer is one that I've always wanted. So I do want to try to get my hands on that before it retires. But the AT-AT is really cool, but I do have like the
Is the
smaller
at
ones.
still available or did they retire
It,
that?
I think it's still available.
Okay. What has been retired recently? I'm sorry. I'm like, um, I
Um,
feel like a lot of the newer stuff hasn't been retired yet.
no, they keep them around for like a year or two, I feel like, and then they start retiring as new sets kind of like move in. I don't know exactly what's been retired or what will be retiring at the end of the year,
How about the
but
Millennium Falcon? Is that still available or is that retired?
that one is still available for
Okay.
sure. I think
So
Moss Eisley's Cantina is retiring now, I think.
okay, so if it retires, does
Mhm.
the value of it go up for like some of the unopened boxes?
I mean,
Or
once it's retired, you can't get it, so you have to almost get it from someone else that has it, so it does increase the value.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, there's, like, price differences if it's, like, a completely sealed, unopened box versus, like, already built, no box, no instructions, no
Of course, of
minifigs.
course.
So, there's, like, that variation, but I don't
Mhm.
really think it's, like, too drastic unless it's, like, the Cloud City Boba Fett that's, like, hundreds of dollars as a minifig, so that'll be, like, kind of a drastic decrease if there's no minifigs, but I don't know. The price definitely increases. I think with any collectible, once you're not able to get it from like the producer,
Yeah.
or it kind of shoots up.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're looking to maybe statues, how about like Hot Toys or anything like that?
I
Or you just don't wanna open up that can of worms?
I feel like that is a can of worms that I've kept
Yeah, I agree.
closed for a
I
while.
agree.
But
I'm with you.
the
I'm
one
with
that
you.
I really want is that Darth Vader that
L
like is on the statue with the cracked mask, and he's got like his cape flowing in the
Oh,
wind.
that one's pretty cool. I would
Yeah.
say if I were to own, like, one Hot Toy, that would be it. And just because it's just one of those things where it's, like, one off. Oh, sealed OG Cloud Cities only, 12K on eBay right now. What's up to Will
Oh,
DeForest? What's up, Will? Gotta get you
so
back on the show, man. Definitely miss you.
only 12.
Yeah, only 12K.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but yeah, I feel like with Hot Toys, back then I was like probably like I would say enabler. So you gotta get it, it's cool. But now I just feel like it's just overwhelming now. And I think too is that for me, yes, I know people are gonna hate me for saying it. They're gonna say, "Oh, you're a scalper, you're a flipper." But I honestly think with collectibles, they have to have some sort like they have to hold some sort of value, right? So that like hey, you know, I don't know, people like we evolve as human beings, our collection evolves, so nothing's really like permanent. So
Mhm.
what happens if you go, hey, you know what? I like that new shiny Star Wars figure or statue, and this one is kind of I'm over it. Um, like if you want to sell it, you should be able to at least like get what close to what you paid for, and not take a huge hit. And unfortunately, with Hot Toys recently, um, they've like made so much, uh, to the point where literally like Sideshow is giving away free figures if you bought like a Hot Toy. Like I think they were giving away a Dark Trooper Hot Toy for free if you spent like $250.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's Hot Toy. I feel like Sideshow has definitely been like pushing one after another. Like, I feel like increasingly when I do like my monthly recaps, like, there's just so many like Hot Toys is just increasing the amount. But I feel
Yeah.
like even with Pops, like, I feel like lately when you try to sell them, you're not really getting many bites. You're not getting like
No,
what you
not
paid
zero.
for it. So I don't know, but I went to go to like one of the local comic shops, I guess, around me now, and I tried to like sell some of them, and he was like, honestly, it's really hard buying Star Wars collectibles right now because they're just sitting here. Like no one wants to buy Star Wars collectibles at the moment. And I was like,
Like at
interesting.
all?
Yeah, he was like, it's hard to bring it in because I'm just sitting on stuff. And I did like look around and he had a lot of Star Wars stuff. And he was like, and I asked him why. I was like, why do you think that is? Because, like, in my mind, everyone's getting Star Wars collectibles because I am, like whatever. And he was like, yeah, I think since the Acolyte series, like, Star Wars has taken a hit. And I was like, interesting. Like, you
Really?
really think that that series, like, even
See,
like
yeah.
as divisive as it was, that it kind of impacted the collecting game? And he was like, I don't know, man, like I just cannot move Star Wars products, so I'm like hesitant to take in stuff. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah, that is like seriously interesting to hear. Just because, we speculate about it and we talk
Mhm.
about it, but we don't own the store. So I just can't imagine owning a store and you're like, "Hey, I want to unload my collection. I'll sell it to you for cheap." You're like, "Oh, great." You get it and then you're trying to unload it or make, at least your money back for what you paid for that collection, and you're not moving it. And that is scary and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Um but and that's when and that's kind of piggybacking off like my thumbnail title, or the title of this episode is make Star Wars great again. And it's just one of those things that I think there's a like I said, Disney has the resources. I mean, they have a long history um of making like good movies, great content, um and they could do it. They gave us Rogue One. They
Mm.
give us Andor. I still think it's a good show, even though I really struggled in the beginning to watch it. I still enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Um, they gave us Mandalorian, so we know that they could do it. Ahsoka, for me, it was one of those things where I'm like, cool, until like episode 5, and then it kind of like tapered off a little bit for me. Um, just because I don't know, Lex, like when I watched what really got me, where I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? Was the zombie troopers just kind of like they were like shooting, and like you're like, okay, like alrighty, cool. They're not scary at all. Okay,
Yeah.
they're still stormtroopers that still miss, but they're just dead now.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely an interesting concept that they brought, but I feel like they kind of hinted at it at like one of the end. Like, what was it Mando season 3?
mhm.
Where they kind of like showed the trooper helmet at the end when they kind of
Mm.
peeped Zeb. So they kind of were like hinting towards it, I feel like, but I don't know. It was definitely an interesting concept. But overall, I really liked Ahsoka, but that's because I'm like a Rebel stan at heart. So it was really cool getting to see all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I just feel like um it started off strong and just kind of, like I said, like tapered off for a little bit for me. Like I really wish that we got a little bit more of Ezra. Because Ezra was the main. I mean, I know this is an Ahsoka show, right?
Mhm.
Um, but even with Ahsoka, like I felt like it wasn't. I mean, did you feel like it was really focusing on Ahsoka? I felt like we were focusing on Sabine the whole time.
I did feel that, and I did mention that, I think to someone. I was like, Ezra and Ahsoka, like, are definitely prominent characters. Same thing with Shin and,
Mhm.
Baylan, but I did really feel like it was the Sabine show, because 'cause we're kind of
Yes.
going through her relations with Ahsoka, with Ezra,
Mhm.
becoming a Jedi, not becoming a Jedi, then trying to become
Yeah.
a Jedi again, so I did really feel like it was the Sabine show, but
Yeah.
you know, which was the character was okay to me. I still don't know how
Sabine.
I feel about Sabine,
Yeah,
but
same.
I've like tried to read into it and like see other people's opinions on it, and that's helped a little bit. But her
Mhm.
character was definitely a little unsettling to me. I don't know if unsettling is like the right word, but like something was just off. I felt like about the
Yes.
character,
Like, I
but
agree. Like, I feel like last time we left, you know, we, uh, we saw her, um, we basically saw her in, um, Rebels, and she was like a strong character at the end of that show, right? Where
yep.
she kinda yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thoughts too, as I was like, we kind of leave off. He goes off with Ahsoka after, losing the fam, like her brother Ezra, and then kind of like, we just feel like there's a sense of like empowerment that she's gonna go do this and try to get him back and whatever. And then we get introduced to her or in Ahsoka, and she's kind of like
Meh.
there. Like, she's not like,
Yeah.
she kind of
Meh, like,
seemed like
meh.
she could care less, she kind of, like, gave up, like, depressed
Yeah.
a bit, and someone did, like, kind of mention, they were like, "Well, after X amount of years, like, wouldn't you give up hope, and wouldn't you kind of, be in this kind of weird funk?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I could see that," but they didn't really, like, kind of play into that, like, we're kinda just introduced to her, and she's kind of like,
Is Can I
"Meh."
ask you? I feel like you make a great point. It's like, why do we have to like kind of fill in the blanks? I get it. Like,
Yeah.
you see what they're doing, but why? It's because now we come up with all these assumptions, and we're like, it doesn't. We're trying to make sense of it. Just basically what
Mhm.
I'm trying to say. Even with
Yeah.
Luke, right? Like the last time we saw Luke, he was such a like guy who didn't give up on his dad, and then next we see him. He's like a disgruntled person who gave
Yeah.
up on his nephew because he had like a dream about him. Like, what's with Disney and making people sad and disgruntled? Like, come on, like, there should be some sort of consistency. Like, I get it. Like, there's I don't know character progression, but if you're gonna do that, give us some like backstory or like maybe introduce us to that character when he or she's going through that progression, rather than just here you go. This is this character that you
Yeah.
like. It's like seeing your old best friend. Like you're like, oh, I love that person, and then you see him as a like such a negative like nanny, and you're like, ooh, what happened?
Which is one of the downsides that I felt
Yeah.
about the Ahsoka series. I mean, to
Hmm.
me, it was like it made sense. I knew who all these characters were, but
Yes.
like I, watch with my dad, and my dad doesn't watch the animated series, so he has no idea the backstory of like Ahsoka because he didn't watch Clone Wars, has no
Hmm.
idea like her relation to Anakin,
Hmm.
doesn't know who the Ghost Crew is because he didn't watch Rebels. So like the
Yeah.
whole time he's like, "Well, who is this? How do they know this person?" Like had so many questions. So that was the one thing I felt like Disney didn't do such a good job, was kind of making it, I guess, easier to understand for the general viewers who aren't
Yeah.
in watching everything, because you kind of jump in and you don't know the
Hmm.
relationships between the characters. There's clearly some deeper ties that you would only know about if you watch the animated series, but not a lot of adults watch the animated series. So I feel
Yeah.
like there was a little bit of confusion for like the common viewer, which I thought was like a little off.
Which is which leads me to this question, right? Like, how does Marvel do it so well? Like, because a lot of these like characters, like I'm sure you don't know too much about Kate Bishop or some of these other characters, right? But
Mhm.
then they do such a great job of introducing it like for the first time. You kind of get to know like what's the difference? Like,
Yeah. I don't know.
where like you could just get in like like people that haven't watched or know too much about Iron Man, like they could watch it and be like, "Whoa, this is pretty cool." Like Iron Man, like growing up, be honest, I wasn't a huge Iron Man fan because you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, he has no powers, ugh, right? Like Spider Man is super cool. He's got superhuman strength. He could freaking walk on like the ceiling, like wow, awesome, right? Shoot webs, swing from building to building. But then Iron Man, you're like, oh, okay, cool. We just built that. Oh, yay. But then we're so fascinated with Iron Man, and he became more popular, in my
Mhm.
opinion, than Spider Man in the first like Marvel, like set of Marvel movies, right? Because he was like
Yep.
the main character through the Infinity Saga. So yeah, how come like a character like Iron Man, like we could get introduced to, and like the general populace will be like so drawn into that character rather than we get introduced to like some of these. I mean, these characters are they're pretty popular in the most part. Get introduced to these characters, but then the general audience can't like connect with them. Like, what's the problem?
I don't know, but I feel like every time now that you mention it, when I do watch a Marvel show or like a new movie or something, like they always have like an intro. Like, I'm
Yeah.
Kate Bishop, blah 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 blah.
Yes.
And like they kind of,
Yes.
spell it out for you in the first episode, or I'm Peter Parker, your
I think that's
neighborhood
a
friend
great point.
Spider-Man, blah blah blah. So I feel like now that you mentioned it, when Marvel introduces characters, you kind of get that like intro, or you get what they want you to know about the character. Because obviously
Yeah.
there's so much to know about the expanded universe and blah blah blah,
Hmm.
but they tell you what they want you to know about that character for the story they're gonna tell, which I don't feel like Star Wars always does. And I feel like they spell out certain things, but then they leave a lot of things up to interpretation, which I get because then you have like, people can have their own imagination. But I feel like when you leave too much up to interpretation, it kind of
Yes.
causes turmoil a little bit. And then everyone's kind of arguing that their, take on it's better. So I
Yeah,
feel like
everyone
they
has a
need to
different
spell it out.
sandbox,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
toys of like how they interpret that character or that story, which is a great point because for something like for me, like I didn't know too much about Miles Morales. I
Mhm.
never read the comics, and I know like a lot of comic book readers would say like, "Oh, those comic books were great." I never read them. I mean, I was the old school Spider-Man guy. Like to me, like Spider-Man was Peter Parker. But
Mhm.
man, when I watched Spider-Verse, dude, oh my gosh, that is probably like one of the best Spider-Man like movies ever made. Like that storyline is so rich. Like it's so good. And
Yeah.
you do such a great job of introducing that character into the general audience, like myself.
Mhm.
So, like I said, like I think that's what's kind of missing for Star Wars, right? Um, were great. Like, yes, like hardcore Star Wars fans like you and I can understand, but then like someone like you said, like your dad or maybe like my parents can't understand what the hell's going on.
And I think it's also the fact that Star Wars has, I don't know, like a tendency to really kind of play at multiple storylines at the same
Mhm.
time. So
Yeah.
you never really could feel attached to one character because it's not like you're following the one character throughout the series. You're following
Mhm.
multiple characters. Like in Ahsoka, you're following Shin and
Mhm.
Balin, then you're
Yeah.
following Sabine in Ahsoka, then you're following Ezra. Like there's just so many things, so I feel like it's hard to get a proper introduction on some of the
Mhm.
characters and then
Yeah.
move forward with them when there's so much going on with every different character. Whereas I feel like with the Marvel stuff, like you're kind of with that character. Like, yes, other characters are around, but you're really kind of viewing through that character's, perception of what's going
Perception.
on. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is as well. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, like maybe they need like a character that we're we don't know anything about, like Mando, where he is like basically the, I don't know what you should say, like just the kind of like the main point of where everything connects, right?
Mhm.
Like he's just the person that's there going through the universe and kind of like, like meeting all these characters that we love, like Boba Fett, Sabine, I mean not Sabine, oh my gosh, Bo Katan, and like
Yep.
stuff like that. And then we get reintroduced to those characters again. And for us, it's like, oh, cool, like Easter egg, that's Bo Katan, that's freaking Boba Fett. And then, but to the general audience, you're just going through the journey and you're meeting these cool characters that, like, whoa, who's that person? Oh, Boba Fett. Oh, let me look into this person. Like everyone's making such a big deal out of it, right? Like just same with Marvel. Like with Marvel, you're seeing through the eyes of that main character, then getting introduced to, oh, there's an Easter egg. Oh, there's someone in the back. There's, I don't know, uh, I don't know, Scorpion in the background, like just walking in the background, and he just says hi. Spider-Man says hi to him. You're like, who's that guy? Everyone's going crazy, and then you look into it. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's something that they should explore. Maybe like with Skeleton Crew, they will, or some of these like newer movies or TV shows, they'll do it. Like I know Mandalorian and Grogu is. I think they've finished filming. They just wrapped up like within the past couple weeks. So I'm curious to see what that journey is all about.
Yeah.
Um, and like working, like, yeah, like how does that connect with like the other movies that's supposed to be releasing too, right? Like I know we're supposed to get Heir to the Empire. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there's also like the Ray movie. I just feel like there are a lot of projects which brings diversity,
Hmm.
but it's also tough when you have all these like multiple storylines that you're
Hmm.
trying to kind of piece together like on your
Yeah,
own. Like there's
yeah,
little innuendos and like Easter eggs that I feel like are kind of put throughout the shows, but I feel
yeah,
like it would be a little bit better if they connected those Easter eggs like throughout other series. Like they kind
yeah,
of brought up in I think multiple series, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'm pretty sure they hinted at it at the end of Tales of the Empire, but like the path. Where are we going with this path? Like you just brought it up. There's nothing else going on, but you've brought it up in like two series now. So
hmm,
I feel like they are kind of doing a good job kind of making the spider web connect, at least with
hmm.
Mando, because I feel like he's definitely like the mysterious space cowboy that's at the center of everything that connects
Yeah, I
to
was gonna say
Fennec
he's like
and
the center of
connects
everything, and
like connects to Boba and Bo-Katan and all these like big names. So I feel like they did a pretty good job with that. But these other series I feel like don't have that connecting web. At least not yet.
mhm.
So maybe they will, but I feel like with the projects that are coming out, they're almost kind of like unrelated. Like I don't know how they would relate maybe they'll relate the Ray movie to like the Ahsoka series or something. Like
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
how they would connect the new series to what we have going on.
which is like another thing I definitely want to talk about is the, like, supposedly there's a Ray movie and now she's going to be connected with this trilogy. I'm so confused. Like
Yeah,
I
it
am
is confusing.
so confused, Lex. I am
I
so confused. What is going on? Are they like trying to force feed us Ray again? Like, I mean, like she's supposedly connected with all these movies. Like, what's going on?
I I don't know because I keep seeing like this is the director. Oh, this director stepped out. Now it's like just a single like one-off movie. Then it's a series. So I feel like there's a lot that's kind of up in the air, at least from what I've gathered
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
But I do feel like Ray is the new generation's Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker. Like
yeah,
she kind of has become that pinnacle Jedi that you can then branch off of.
yeah,
So I do feel like they are trying to use her to kind of further the story because you can only use Luke and Anakin so many times, and I feel like they're trying to kind of branch out a little bit and
yeah.
maybe I don't want to say like give her, like, at least Daisy Ridley grace, and maybe some of the other characters some grace back that was kind of taken from the series. But
Well, here's my thing too. If they're gonna try and give her grace, like give her grace back, they should start off with giving grace back to Luke. Because
yeah,
I feel like Luke didn't really, and that's where the divisiveness comes from in terms of the Star Wars fan, is how Luke was treated in the sequel trilogy. I think we could properly move on is if we finally can close the chapter on the Skywalker saga and just kind of move away from that. And I think, like I mentioned before, the best way to do that is to properly close the chapter on all these beloved characters that we and grew up and loved, uh, and then we can move on to Ray. But even with Ray too, is that it's so hard because of how the sequel trilogy ended. Like a lot of people weren't too happy with the ending of that movie. Um, and I mean that's just my opinion. I mean, I get if you disagree with me, which is totally fine. I think also with that being said, like I feel like in this day and age, I feel like disagreeing with each other is like the end of a friendship. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't
yeah.
understand that. I don't know
I
why people cancel each other out. It's like, oh, you don't agree with me and how I see Star Wars? Yeah, you're not my friend anymore. You're like, okay. And I feel like we should really like try to not do that as much. Um, just because we don't see eye to eye on a certain character or movie doesn't mean like we should end our relationship. But it is what it is. Um, but yeah, no, for me, like I said, like if I don't know, how would you give grace back to Ray Skywalker?
So for me, I don't want to, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of her taking the Skywalker name. I
Yeah,
understand it.
I know.
They wanted to kind of, carry that legacy on, but I feel like it almost would have been better to kind of close that chapter of the Skywalker saga and then kind of turn a new leaf with the Palpatine name. Like, during the Skywalker saga, Palpatine was terrible, blah, blah, blah. Now we've kind of closed that chapter, and now we have Palpatine. And instead of being a terrible, bad name, it could be associated with, Rey. So I kind of didn't see the point in giving her the Skywalker name other than to just carry it on. I thought it would have been better to kind of turn the new leaf on the Palpatine name, but
Mhm.
I definitely feel like how they kind of portrayed Luke's character rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And now that he's kind of gone, I don't know how they could return the grace unless there's like flashbacks or something. Like, I don't know how they would fix that almost.
Well, like I said, for me, and I said this in previous episodes, and maybe I've said it a lot. The only way to kind of fix that is to make that Luke Skywalker that we saw in the sequel trilogy the clone, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
originally, J.J. Abrams was supposed to start off the Force Awakens with Luke's hand floating in space. I don't know if you read that, right?
No,
And
no.
supposedly, yes. So because remember they chopped off his hand
Oh,
in
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, and it falls, and suppose he's like floating. And then I know Palpatine was trying to get that so that he could use the DNA to kind of clone more of himself. So maybe they were able to do that, or maybe clone Luke, and the Luke that we saw is just a clone, and maybe the real Luke is stuck with Ahsoka in the other universe. And maybe that's why we remember he disappeared. Maybe he was looking for something, and we never heard of. Everyone saw. Say, hey, he just left. What the hell happened to him? Right? Um,
Yeah.
we don't know. Right? I only know he just disappeared, and then all of a sudden he's in Octu, like drinking
Yeah.
from the teats of those aliens. So, okay, which is weird. Uh,
It is.
but I think that's the only way. Then he comes back, right? And then maybe he meets up with Ray. And I was gonna say, with Rey, she is still a Palpatine, so she's really trying hard to fight the darkness in her, right? And Rey, and then like say Luke comes back to try to say, "Hey, oh my gosh, everyone's gone. Oh my gosh, oh." And then there's Rey, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna take Rey and make her like part of the family and all that." But then she's like, "I'm a Palpatine. I need to kill you. I still have the DNA of a Palpatine." And then she turns bad, and then maybe it could be like a Luke and Rey. I don't know. I'm going in a tangent here. I'm sorry, Lex.
No, it's okay. I just
I
think it
feel
would
like
be like
I feel,
if we did go that route though, like how would they explain clones having the capability to become Force ghosts? Unless like we killed the clone off and then it was the original Luke that could do that.
yeah, maybe, right? Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
forgot that he was a Force ghost. Well, I try to forget a lot of things from the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe I don't know. Damn it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it would just be tough to kind of like they in a way I feel like maybe have to do it through like a series, kind of like how they did with Mando, but I feel like it's just tough because I feel like Mark Hamill's kind of voiced multiple times that he wants to kind of
hmm
put it to rest and be done with Luke's character for now and kind of pass
Oh, it's
the
such a
torch.
shame, but wouldn't that bother you though? Right? If you were to play like a major character that was so beloved all these years to see it like end in a way that you didn't or go in a route that you didn't want to go, wouldn't you want to say, "Oh man, I wish they could make this right," and then there's still an opportunity to make it right because you just want to close the chapter and just kind of like know that like, oh, you left like a good legacy. Like you don't want to like kind of like with Tom Brady. I don't know. I'm using sports here, right? Tom Brady left a good mark on his legacy, right? He didn't really, yeah, he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he still won a championship there. Okay, maybe he didn't win the championship in his last season, but he still did good,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I feel like Luke is kind of like in that level where, okay, we really had a bad year and a bad season. Do you really want to leave your legacy like that, or do you want to just kind of like do one more like hurrah and just kind of like have a proper closure for your character? And I feel like also with like Rey Skywalker, I know Disney won't do it, but it would be so awesome to kind of see her like go towards the dark side, right? Embrace the dark side because she is a Palpatine. There is a lot of like turmoil within her. You know, come on, like her parents like left her by herself. She's a Palpatine. She's the granddaughter of one of the most evil Sith lords out there. Yeah, there's going to be some dark side in her, right? And I know we got teased with it with
Yeah.
in the Rise of Skywalker with we kind of saw dark side Rey. I feel like proper closure for her would be she goes to the dark side. She kind of like goes on I don't want to say killing spree, but basically like just kind of like really embracing the darkness, and maybe there's people trying to bring her back to the light, and then she comes back to the light just like Vader, and that's it, like an end of her story, like maybe she sacrifices herself like trying to save the universe, and that's it, and then close the chapter in that, and then we can move on away from the Skywalker saga. Because I really want to move away from the Skywalker saga, don't you? Like I want to like explore the Knights of the Old Republic or other universes or galaxies out there. So
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wish they would put it sounds like terrible because I feel like Skywalker is like completely associated with Star Wars.
I
Like when you say
know.
Skywalker, that's it. But I just feel like at least with this last series, like this last kind of 3 movies, it really kind of made me realize like it should have been put to bed like at that point. Like there shouldn't have been a continuation, there shouldn't have been an
Yeah.
association with Rey, but then you still had Luke's character around. So I don't know. I didn't agree with her becoming a Skywalker. I think it would have been better if we close that chapter and
Yeah.
move on in whatever way, like, whether she's a good, and she's starting the new Jedi Order, which I feel like is what's kind of speculating is she's gonna start
Yeah.
the new order, whatever, or she went to the dark side like Vader did or whatever. But I just felt like we need to kind of move forward and start creating new stories with new characters, because you can only do so much with these characters for so long, and it's been a while.
I
Like it's been
agree.
years, but there's
I
also
agree.
so much prior to that, like the New Republic and things like that, that I know people are dying to see come to light, outside of the gaming and expanded universe and stuff. So I just feel like there's so much to do, and when it comes to the movies, we're just
Mhm.
focused on certain characters,
And I
and I
feel
feel
like
like
they're
we need
kind of yeah, and also, would you agree? Like they're kind of making it up as they move, as they go, right?
yeah, but I mean,
I mean, we could see it from like some of the the news articles. Oh, new Star Wars trilogy from X-Men producer reported continue the Skywalker saga. Then I see another article. Oh, not the Skywalker saga. It's a new trilogy on its own. And then next, it's like, oh, a Rey's going to be attached to these. What is going on here? Make up your damn mind. What is going on?
I feel
Like,
like they don't know what's
they
going on.
don't know. That's the worst
So
part. Like, at least with Marvel, and I hate to compare it to Marvel, but it's their other IP that they own. I feel
mhm.
that even though like the most recent saga or whatever you want to call it, it's been kind of inconsistent. Obviously, with Jonathan Lee, is it Jonathan Lee Majors? I forgot. Is Jonathan Majors? Jonathan Majors, like with his issue, and then obviously they had to drop him, and then now create a new storyline. But besides that, they kind of had like some sort of plan, right? And how they're going to introduce like some of the new characters and where it's going and things like that. But with Star Wars, I feel like they don't have a plan. They don't know what's going on and why. It's like it's
Yeah.
Disney.
Which is crazy because with Marvel, I feel like since the first like Iron Man movie dropped, like there's been a list out. Like this is what we're gonna produce for each phase for these years. Like,
Yes.
there has been a projection for like over 10 years of the movies that we're gonna
Mhm.
get and things like that.
And they
With
stuck
Star
with it
And
too.
yes, and they're consistent with it. Like we know in 2 years we're going to be getting Iron Man, or in 2 years there's an Avengers movie. Like we've had this projection and they've lived up to
Mhm.
it. And it
Yeah.
kind of shocks me that I feel like Star Wars doesn't have that projection. Maybe they do have it and they're not sharing it with us like Marvel, like what they've done with Marvel. But it just doesn't seem like there is a set path of what's to come and how it
Mhm.
relates to one another or whatever, which is shocking.
Yeah. Well, I just hope they get it together.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I just like I'm with you. I just want to finally close the chapter on the Skywalker saga and just move on from away from it, because I just want to leave it in a good place where you could kind of go back to it and just not be like jaded, like, oh my god, they ruined it, or like, oh, they did my characters right, yay, like you have a good place in it. Like I just it's hard because I know some people's like, well, episode 1 through 6 is just my Star Wars, and everything else is just like fan fiction, which is a shame because like they made these movies and it's out there and it's canon. Like it's so hard to ignore them, right? And if they could continue in a way where they could kind of I don't know, try to like I said, close the chapter on the Skywalker story the proper way, then we could finally move on. Because I think a lot of us want to move on. I just don't want to keep like hearing like, okay, new Skywalker saga again. Like what? Another trilogy? Like, oh my gosh.
Like
Can we just
12 movies about the Skywalker saga.
yes, like
Like
oh my
it's time. But I feel
it's
like maybe if they did like Heir to the Empire, maybe that'll kind of give
yeah.
them a little bit of grace perhaps, but his story still ends with that last movie. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how they would fix it, but I mean, there are different stories that they can do. Like, I would
Mhm.
love the Heir to the Empire. Like, I'm reading that
Yeah.
3 books right now, and I absolutely love it. So I would love to see that. kind of make its way, which I feel like is where they were kind of heading. I don't know, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
think what they're planning to do is one of those things where you could kind of pick and choose which is your sequel trilogy, right? I know
Yeah.
we're getting the Heir to the Empire, maybe Mando. I heard we're getting an Ahsoka movie
Oh,
and a Mando. I mean, the Heir to the Empire. I don't know. I just know that there's supposed to be 3 more movies, and with the Mandoverse, and the Heir to the Empire is supposed to close out the Mandoverse. But maybe with the last movie, like the Heir to the Empire, maybe that's supposed to be your choice. Where okay, these movies, this Heir to the Empire, Mando and Grogu, that's my sequel trilogy. Anything else after this is I could just erase. Maybe they'll bring the trio back together in Heir to the Empire, maybe through CGI or whatever the case is, right? And then we could finally see them in screen and Lando and be like, oh my, the legacy characters, they bring them back. And we're like, oh wow, we can finally see them on screen. This is amazing. And then close the chapter there, and that's it. And anything else after that, you could just kind of like, meh.
yeah.
If you like them, then the the
You can
trilogy
enjoy them.
continues, right? I mean, the story continues. If you didn't like it, it ends with Heir to the Empire. But I don't
Yeah.
know.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
We have to wait and see. There's so many options here. So,
There's so much
okay,
going on.
all right. I think we went on a tangent there. But anyway, going back to your collection, anything recently that you picked up?
Nothing recent. I mean, I've been trying to like buy like Christmas gifts and stuff for, people or whatever, but nothing for
Mhm,
like my personal collection. I was trying like really hard
mhm,
not to buy anything like prior to me moving because
mhm.
I didn't want to have additional things to move. And now that I'm kind of like in the new place, other things like a couch have kind of taken priority over some of the
Yeah, of course.
collectibles. So I feel like
Which
now
is
that I've
fine.
kind of yeah, which is it's fine. It's given me some time to like kind of think about where I want to go. So now that I do have a couch and things like that that I need to like, enjoy my space, I can kind of now start getting into, getting some collectibles again. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you're kind of like uh decorating your area, like your area, with some Star Wars. That's isn't that exciting? Like I feel like that.
Yeah. I love it. It's been so fun. I mean, it's something I've always wanted was to like have my own space and stuff like
Yeah,
that to do what I want. So like, I'm decorating my living room and my kitchen and the bedroom and like then I just have my like little sanctuary of like just Star Wars stuff that I can kind of nerd out,
yeah.
but still kind of have it separate from, other things or whatever, but it's nice that I can like kind of come in here and like this is my dedicated collection
All right. Well,
recording
let
whatever.
me, any like Star Wars themed furniture.
I don't have anything. I have, like, little innuendos, like, throughout the apartment,
Uh
but,
huh.
like, I have seen when I did go to Rooms to Go to, like, look at couches and stuff, they had, like, a
Hmm.
Star Wars desk and stuff like that, so I thought that was cute, but I just
Hmm.
have, like, little things, like, here and there, like, I have certain, like, Lego sets throughout and, like, in my bedroom, I have, like, little Star Wars, like, what do you put your, like oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, to put your drinks on and stuff like that, like, on the table, like, I have,
Yeah.
like, little things, but nothing, like, super crazy.
Well, I was gonna say too is that so yeah, I like convinced like my wife to get this like bedding set. So they have this. I think this is sold by Sobel at home. So this is like the dark side collection. This is like the dark side themed like,
Hmm.
you know. They also have, let me see if I could pull it up for you. They also have like let me share it. They also have like R2D2 here. Beddings. Where's the yeah, collections here. Collection Star Wars. Yay, Star Wars Home Collection. So they have this. They have the Jedi 7-piece set. So the
Ooh.
Tatooine. So and it's not like oh my gosh, like Star Wars, like you got a big like
Mhm.
Chewbacca like head in
Yeah.
like in the middle of your blanket or something like that, or in the middle of your bed sheet. It's like kind of like subtle, right?
Yeah, which
So
is
like
nice.
which
I'll
is
have to
nice, right? Like this is nice. Like
that is
you
nice. I do
like you
like
wouldn't know that like this is like a Star Wars like bedding set. So
so
that's but yeah, I was gonna say, like, have you picked up anything like that? Like where like or
no.
like toasters, like
I I do have an R2D2 like humidifier, but
oh
that's
come on. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, my mom got that for me when I got sick a while back, and that's like all that I
Mhm.
use now. But I no, I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I have, I kind of just like I very minimalist outside of my collection. I feel like my collection is definitely like the most stuff that I have. So
You're being a responsible adult. I get it, Lex. I'm
I'm
irresponsible. So if you were to come to my house, yeah, I do have like regular furniture, but I do have quite a bit of like Star Wars like themed like furniture and like appliances and stuff. Like I have like um a Darth Vader slow cooker.
huh,
Yeah, I have a Darth Vader um toaster. I have like in Hallmark, you could actually buy like the like Mandalorian theme like spatulas and stuff, and like oven mitts.
hmm,
Uh, um, yeah, I try to be subtle with some of my, but I can't. I can't help it. There's so many cool Star Wars products.
there is, but
Like
yeah. I
I
mean,
have
I
a
try
Star
to
Wars apron. Like who cares if people judge me?
yeah,
Whatever. The
yeah.
only thing I'm trying to convince my wife is to kind of make like one bathroom like just Star Wars theme, but she's like, "This is
Work in
too much."
progress.
Yeah,
Work
she's
in
like, "This is too much."
progress.
She's like, "Come on, you gotta like, cool it down a little bit here." But yeah, let's just say if I was like had my own place and I wasn't married, everything would be Star Wars. You'd be
Okay.
like, "What the hell is this? Is this the Lucasfilm like museum here? What's going on?"
Yeah.
I
I
know.
mean, initially I wanted to have like Star Wars stuff all over, and I was like,
Do it.
"Hmm." I was like, maybe I can just put like subtle innuendos like
Yeah,
around the apartment because I
yeah.
do have like a lot of stuff in here, and I was like, I don't know that I need like my whole room at home was like Star Wars, and I was like, I feel like I can kind of separate church and state at some point, like a little bit. So
No. Comic
yeah,
Galaxy, no. Maybe for myself, maybe. What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, so that's awesome. Congrats on your new place, by the way. That's exciting, and I'm
thank
glad
you.
that you're kind of putting Star Wars here and there. So, well, I was gonna ask you, any like reason? Well, you said you haven't really picked up anything, right?
Yeah, nothing lately. I mean, there's definitely stuff I want to pick up, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to, be responsible and do little things here and there. Now I'm like fully adulting, so it's been
Yeah.
been an adjustment.
Well, I was gonna ask you, how about some art prints? Like, would you put like some like Star Wars artwork up in your apartment?
Yeah, yeah, I do like art. I do have a lot of art like in here, so I
Okay.
I love Star Wars art.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I was gonna say also, did you see the new Andor? Well, tease like like they had like that Disney Plus like commercial. Did you see some of like the Andor scenes in there?
I've seen like the stills, like pictures that have been posted, but I didn't actually like watch anything.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but
it looks good.
it
It looks
does.
like
I
it's
mean,
pretty fast paced from what I've seen so far. So I'm looking forward to that new season of Andor. I feel like it's going to be a lot like a lot faster than the in terms of pacing. It'll be a lot faster than the first season.
which I think will be good because I think pacing was definitely a huge complaint for the first season because it was definitely a very slow burn. So maybe kind of adjusting the pacing on season 2 would be
Which I
good.
think it wasn't bad. it was actually shot really well. And I think there's like the acting and the writing was top notch. I just don't think a lot of people were used to it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like a lot of people are used to the like campy type of like, setting, right? Because if you look at the sequel, not sequels, if you look at the prequels and the original trilogy, they kind of felt like, the same. This one's like a way more serious tone, very dramatic. So again, that's not something that we're used to. It's,
Mhm.
that's the only show or like content that is in terms of Star Wars is in that realm of like pacing, right? Like the slow
Yeah.
pace. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it definitely was like new, so it definitely took me like a few episodes, and I was like, I
yeah.
just gotta keep watching. Like, I just gotta, kind of see where it's gonna go. Like, I don't want to just
Mhm,
stop watching it. And I'm glad that I did. And I feel like that last scene that they showed,
mhm.
like, totally blew my mind. And I was like, I'm glad that I didn't like stop watching it. Like, I'm glad that I kind of followed it through, but
Yeah,
it was definitely a little hard for me to get through the first few episodes, and then when I kind of understood, like, what I was really getting from this, it made more sense and I enjoyed it. So, I think, having a different pace, maybe the people that didn't like season 1 will enjoy season 2,
yeah. Well, I was
maybe.
gonna so Skeleton Crew, then Andor season 2, and that's it, right? Like, is there
So far.
right? There's
But
nothing else.
Celebration's right around the corner, so maybe there'll be some announcements then, possibly. I feel like they do a lot of announcements at Celebration, but at the moment, yeah, it's pretty much Skeleton Crew. I don't
Like
think we even get Andor until after Celebration.
after Celebration, right? April 22nd. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
there's gonna be a panel. Yeah, that they announced it. It's April 22nd. So um yeah, so it's gonna be is it? Yeah, it's after, right?
it'll be after, yeah, yeah.
Because celebration's earlier in the month. Which, speaking of celebration, are you going to Japan?
I bought tickets to go and I reserved a hotel. I do just need
Yay!
to buy my flight, but I'm waiting to kind of see what the plan is with work and if I can kind of like use my PTO to go. So we'll see. We'll see.
I hope you said before you got hired, "Hey, this is my planned trip. Please don't book me. Don't schedule me in those
They're
days."
they're pretty accommodating with, like, time off, so I've already kind of,
Yeah,
like, mentioned, like, "Hey, there's, like, a week that in April I need to, like, take off," but
yeah.
so I'm hoping that there's just not gonna be a lot of
Do,
plans, but
now, with that being said, right? And for me, like sometimes, like in the beginning, I was kind of like sharing like what I was doing whenever I take off, but then
Mhm,
uh like that was when yeah, I'm in a different position now, but like I try not to share too much of like my convention adventures, you could say, or vacation. Cause just because like I try to separate, state and church and all that stuff. So do you do that too at work, or like does people
oh,
know like, oh, Lex is a Star Wars fan, or you're kind of like, you kind of read
so
the room and see like, are
yeah.
they Star Wars fans, or do I want to share I'm a Star Wars fan?
I really kind of at first like and I've done this, like, since I've started like content creating, like with my first couple, like the jobs that I've had, like when I was working at
Yeah.
Publix, like initially I didn't say anything. I kind of just was like, yeah, I'm Alexis, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would just do my day to day. And like when I would request off for like a
Mhm.
convention or whatever, like I would just put, I need time off. Like I have something planned
Yeah,
or
well, it's not your
whatever.
business.
'Cause that's always been my thought process is like, yeah, like whatever I need time off for, like it's really none of your business. If I'm requesting it off in advance,
Mhm,
there's nothing interfering. Like you don't really need to know. And I feel like that's
mhm.
kind of still my standpoint. But I feel like as I kind of like grow within the job, like I become friends with people and then they start following me or whatever. And then they kind of like put two and two together, like, oh, she's probably going to a convention. So at my current job, I'm not there yet. But usually when I request off, like I'm just like, yeah, I need the week off. Like I have a prior commitment.
Okay. Yeah, no, for me, like, in my prior job before the one I'm currently working at, uh, I was kind of like vocal of where I was going. So whenever I took off, especially on May the 4th, I'm like, guys, I'm taking off. They're like, it's Star Wars Day, isn't it? And they'll say, May the Force be with you and enjoy your day off. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. Or whenever I take off, they're like, you're going to a Star Wars convention, aren't you? Or some sort of convention. I'm like, no, I really am going on vacation. I'm going away. I'm going to a beach. Like, yeah, stop lying. You're going to a convention. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. It
but I was
kind
gonna
of
say
is.
that's exciting though. You're going to Japan. Are you going with anybody or just
I
going
was
by
kind of
yourself?
gonna do a solo trip and just. I mean,
Well,
there's people I was gonna meet up with, like, and do some
well,
stuff with, like Tony and Ricky and
you
whatever.
gotta meet up with those
Oh,
guys.
of
Yes.
course. But
Please, if Shin Hadi's over there, please protect her from Tony, and please let Tony know that that's my girl. Thank you.
gotcha.
We just have a running joke. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
seen the Instagram
absolutely. I have
stories.
seen it. I will.
Oh,
I've been watching.
yeah. Comic Galaxy says they need time for character development. If they rushed through it and went straight to the action, it would be hard to care about any of those characters, which I totally agree. I think they
Mhm.
needed to do that because a lot of these characters you don't really know. So you kind of develop them throughout like the series so that when you get to season 2, you have a more, I guess you could say, investment to these characters. I suppose like
Yep.
what we talked about, just jumping right in, you're like, what the hell's going on? And you have no connection to these characters. And that's how I felt with Sabine in Ahsoka. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
um, I'm sure they'll show the first 2 episodes of Andor at Star Wars Celebration. Also, Ahsoka new season plans or teaser. I'm so
I'm hoping
jealous,
so.
Lex. I'm so jealous of you. You're going to. I know Tony's like, just do it. Just do it, PJ. I know. I should just
I
do it.
didn't do it when they were in Orlando. I didn't go
Mm,
to London, so I was like, and Japan is a place I've always wanted to go. Like, I've
yeah.
very much like grown up like doing taekwondo and that kind of tradition and
Yeah.
stuff. When I heard it was in Japan, I was like, it's kind of like a two birds with one stone. Like, I can go to my first celebration and kind of get to tool around Japan a little bit. So I don't
Mhm.
know. It definitely is. I have the ticket. I have like the hotel. I have like plans of, what I would kind of want to do, but I do probably need to sooner than later buy the plane ticket and like actually request the dates off. But I was kind of just waiting to kind of see like what the job really entails being in the residency program. But I think it'll be okay because I think by the time April rolls around, I'll kind of start being on my own and it
Yeah, I'm
won't be
sure.
too bad. And like I'll only
Mhm.
work 3 days out of the week. So hopefully maybe I can just like work the 3 days and then have the 4 days off and use PTO for like the remaining whatever I need to. But I don't know. I'll work it out. I definitely really want to go
I'm
to
sure
Japan.
it'll work out. And how many weeks are going to be out in Japan?
I was just gonna go for like the week, just about like I was gonna go a little bit
Mm.
beforehand and then like kind of like because I think it's a weekend. So I was thinking about like flying out on Monday or whatever it was. Probably wouldn't get there till Tuesday, kind of tool around, do whatever, and then go to the con and then come back that Monday.
Okay. All
So
right.
that
Well,
was the
that's
plan.
exciting. And just really quick, any other conventions that you're going to be doing next year or yeah, next year because it's the
Um,
end of the year already.
Yeah, I mean, MegaCon is definitely on my list. I loved MegaCon last year, so I'm really hoping once they start like kind of announcing some of the names, that'll be cool. But
Yeah.
MegaCon's definitely on my list. I'm hoping that I'll kind of get acclimated to the scene in Jacksonville and kind of maybe go to some of the local conventions and stuff. But I feel like a lot of stuff happens in Orlando, so I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm not too far from Orlando, so I always kind of just make like a day trip and go hang out and do what I gotta do. But yeah, whatever conventions I come across, I usually try to like make a point to go.
Okay. Awesome. And just before we wrap things up here, anything coming up on any content coming up? I know you've been busy with work, so anything coming up? And can you let everyone know where they could find you and watch some of your content?
Yeah, absolutely. Jedi Knight Lex or Jedi dot or underscore Lex on any of the social media platforms. lately I've really only been using Instagram and YouTube. I'm trying to kind of get back into the swing of things and schedule some guests for Beyond Tatooine. So I think that'll be fun. And I want to start doing some Lego live streams because I kind of didn't purposely build some Legos because I knew it would be easier to move them if they were in a box. So I think that'll be fun. So I kind of can do some Q&As and discussions about certain things. Of course, Skeleton Crew, so I'm going to do the reactions to that. But I mean, nothing really out of the ordinary, just doing what I love and sharing it with everybody.
All right, cool. Yeah, please, guys, check out Lex, Jedi Knight Lex, on all the social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube. I watch her mostly on Instagram, YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And she does amazing, amazing content. You should see her interviews, especially the one with me.
Yeah,
No,
check it out.
but like she is such a one of the sweetest persons you'll ever see on YouTube, on Instagram. She's such a sweetheart, and I'm so happy that I got a chance to have her on my show. And I'm so happy I was honored to jump on her show. So please check it out. It's really, really good content, really good conversations. I'm looking forward to what you have in store from all your social media platforms, especially YouTube. So yeah, keep up the great work. Yep, and Comic Galaxy says I'll make sure to sub on YouTube. Yeah, please do, Comic Galaxy. She's amazing. So but yeah, no, Lex, thank you for hopping on to tonight's show. I know
Yeah.
some people are not used to it, us being on Thursday. Just Wednesdays have been really tough for me. I don't know. It's something about middle of the week that it's so hard. Like, I mean, Charlotte and I did it. But I'm kind of like Thursday because I feel like Thursday is just kind of like you kind of like good, like went through majority of the week and you're kind of like winding down and getting excited for the weekend.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of thinking about just kind of like sticking to Thursdays.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it just works out better that way. And I'm also like considering just kind of like doing this type of platform where we just kind of like get guests on, just kind of just talk. There's no like format. There's no like, oh, let's talk about bounty pickups. So I just feel like I want like just a natural conversation. So hopefully you guys out there, thank you for tuning in tonight's show. I know there was no like notifications or any like signal that we're going live tonight, but thank you for coming in on today's show and checking us out. But yeah, we'll definitely be back sometime next week. Please sub to the channel if you haven't done so, and hit that notification bell so that like you get notified when we are going live. And I've kind of updated like the Buzzsprout, so a good majority of the Sitcast episodes are up there. I think I'm missing like the last 4 to 5 episodes, so that should be going up pretty soon. Lex, thank you so much. Looking forward to having you back on this show sometime soon, and thank you for coming on to tonight's show.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. So I appreciate your kind words and, just having a great conversation with you like always.
Yeah, this was great. Like I was looking at it, I was like, wow, that was like an hour of just kind of like us just kind of talking straight through.
Yeah, it
But
flew by. So
flew by.
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and may the midichlorians be with you guys always and forever. Good night.